Greetings, Pathfinders, I'm Vulkk. Today is 4th of April, and just as promised, BioWare delivered new information about Mass Effect Andromeda. They released information and patch notes about the first post-release update to the game, number 1.05. Down below right now, I'm going to straight away go into the details as to what the improvements are. And let's read. Improved tutorial placement. I don't know what exactly that means. Do they mean to interrupt the game in more appropriate moments or something else? Increased inventory limits. That's fantastic actually, because the initial limit of 50 was a little bit restrictive when you go to explore like mad. Single player, balance changes, ammo crates, armor weapons, nomad, profiles, attacks, and progression. All of these things will be balanced. How? We don't know at the moment. Multiplayer balance changes involve weapons, cover, and enemies. Check back for detailed notes on the balance changes, the patch note says. Improved matchmaking and latency in multiplayer. I've personally never had issues with latency in multiplayer, but then again, I've played only a handful of matches so far, and I don't have a huge amount of experience. Added option to skip autopilot sequences in the Galaxy map. A moment for applause, please, because I don't know if anybody actually enjoyed that crazy, silly, at first funny and gorgeous looking animation, but then it quickly becomes very boring and tedious. Next, let's see. Decreased the cost of remnant decryption keys that made them more accessible at merchants. I personally never found myself slacking or lacking number of decryption keys. I don't like the Sudoku puzzles because I don't like Sudoku, especially those complicated ones with the mini regions and everything else and the cross in the middle. But that's just me. I've personally always had 3 to 7 keys to spare and never had any shortages, and I didn't even need to buy from the merchants, I believe. Improved logic, timing, and continuity for relationships and story arcs. That probably means that in a more appropriate times we will get to romance or hate our companions. That depends probably on what part of the story you've already completed. Unless you want to start a brand new game, I suppose this may not affect you and your personal game to the extent that BioWare intends. The next one is decrease the cost of, the next one is improve the lip sync and facial acting during conversations, including localized voiceover. What do they mean by localized? Does that mean that other versions but the English voiceover will get changed? If the English is considered okay, so they're changing and improving the other localized voiceover, such as French, German, and God knows how many other languages the game has been translated to. I was hoping for a general fix, but we know that this isn't possible in such a short time, and it's probably never going to happen because of the way the voiceover and the animation have been done for Mass Effect Andromeda, so we'll probably have to settle for what we currently have with very minor improvements for the future, but not very near future. Next, fix an issue with Ryder's movements when running in a zigzag pattern. I don't know, I've noticed that silly animation thingy where he turns his ass. Probably the female character does the same, but in a more sexy way. I've not played with a female rider yet. I found those actually kind of realistic. They are not very real indeed, but they're much more realistic than the majority of other games that I've played. Let's see, improve the appearance of eyes for humans and Asari characters. Does that mean that we won't get those dead white eyes anymore? I would love to see a huge improvement in that regard. And why only human and Asari? Probably because the other species don't depend on their eyes so much. Like, what do you care about the eyes of a Krogan, for example? Let's see. Next one. A bunch of fixes which I'll actually not read for you guys here, but you can read them from the screen. This patch is scheduled to release this Thursday, which is 6th of April, very soon actually. If there is more detailed patch notes, because that's what this thing here suggests, I will update them and notify you hopefully in time. But for now, I think we should all be excited because this patch promises, let's not forget down below here in the very bottom, streaming and stability improvements. And in the BioWare blog post, they actually talked about performance fixes and improvements, not just the way they've worded it here, streaming and stability improvements. They're promising performance upgrades, balances, and well, fixes, I think, is an appropriate word here. So if you've had issues with the game and you thought you shouldn't have, depending on your hardware configuration, uh, let's hope that for you, for me, and for everybody, these improvements will actually be noticeable. I personally do see a huge decrease in performance in FPS, namely, when I live stream the game because of OBS. I don't see that kind of decreased performance with other games that I've streamed and keep streaming on my YouTube channel. But for Mass Effect, it's really noticeable, probably because I crank up the game settings to as high as possible. And that little bit of OBS interference to my CPU and everything else in the whole system is actually making a huge impact. Never mind. I'm sure you don't care about my personal experience with that, or if you do, I do actually have an extensive performance analysis and overview video from the very first days after the game was released for early access or trial. That's it. Wrapping up the video. Thank you for joining me. I hope you found this information useful, and I'll see you in 1.05. Thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Click the like button and help me out. Visit my website vulkk.com for daily videos and news. To help me improve and expand, consider becoming my patron with a small monthly pledge. And stay in touch by following me on Facebook and Twitter.